Hello, if you're here, it's safe to assume that you've been dying quite a lot to a boss and are looking for any edge that you can get. But first, here's some advice. Dying is part of the experience. You will die, die. So many times that you will lose track of the number of times. But don't forget the things that you've learned with each encounter. The boss patterns, when they're open to attack, what attacks you simply want to avoid altogether. As you learn all these things about the boss, he becomes a little easier. It's kind of like this, the boss feels like a brick wall and you're smashing your head against. But every time you die or get close to killing it, it doesn't look like you're doing anything. But you're ever so slightly forming cracks. Cracks that will eventually give way and crumble the wall, resulting in your victory. Only to reveal a bigger and thicker wall, which then quickly smears you into the carpet and goes on about its day. But who said your forehead couldn't get any bigger and thicker as well? Anyway, here's some advice about rolling. Speaking of bosses, let's talk about equip load and how it affects rolling. Now maybe you already know about fat rolling or even no rolling, but do you know about light rolling? Light rolling is when your equip load is below roughly 29% of your total equip load. If you don't know where that is, it's right here. Let me also explain how weight works. You might notice throughout your travels that you're picking up many things like new weapons or new shields and wonder if there's a limit to how much you can carry. No, there is no limit. Carry as much as you want and pick up everything you see. Weight only applies to armor slots, weapon slots, and talisman slots, which are these slots right here. Weight basically boils down to what you're wearing, what talismans you got, and what weapons you have equipped. Here's an example of my weight changing when I equip things. So you can do the math to figure out what's the max you can carry for a light roll, or if you're not a math guy, you can just equip and unequip things to figure out what you can and cannot wear. Now you might be saying, why would I care what kind of roll I'm doing? Well, to put it simply, iframes. Depending on what roll you're doing, determines your iframes. There are 3 rolls and technically a 4th, but not really. Let's start with the null roll. In your inventory menu, it will say overloaded, and this is when your equip load surpasses what you can carry. For example, if your maximum equip load is, say, 50, anything over 50 will overload you. When overloaded, you lose the ability to roll, and will instead lurch forward but never actually roll. You should never be here, as losing the ability to roll is a major detriment to you as a player. Next we have fat or heavy rolls, which is 70 to 100% of your maximum equip load. Fat rolls provide almost no, if at all, iframes and should be avoided if you want to use rolling at all. Up next we have medium rolls, which are 30 to 69% of your maximum equip load. Most people are familiar with medium rolling as most players use it without knowing about it. It gives you decent iframes and is pretty much of one of 2 actually usable rolls. Lastly, light rolling, the other one of the other 2 usable rolls as mentioned previously. 29% and below of your max equip load, and it gives you the most iframes out of all rolls. Light rolling may be the edge you need against a particularly hard boss, as it increases iframes, may allow you to dodge out of a boss's combo, or save you from being hit because you dodged a little too early. But if you haven't tried light rolling, give it a shot, as it may be the edge you need to come out on top. Next, let's talk about greed. I'm not talking about money, I'm talking about you trying to squeeze in as many attacks as possible when a boss is open to an attack. That is when you are being greedy, and bosses will more often than not punish you for it, some a little bit more than others. These bosses deserve respect, and otherwise they will mash you into paste without a second thought. Even though you really want to beat this boss because it's been causing you trouble, don't get greedy. Take your 1, maybe 2 hits if your weapon is fast enough, and get ready for the boss to swing back. You don't want to throw away a good run because you got greedy. Slow and steady wins the race here. Now let's talk about runes. Next we have runes. Runes are the currency / XP in this game that allow you to either level up or purchase items. I would advise that if you are holding on to a lot of runes, you should prioritize using them to level up rather than using them to purchase items, as it's much easier to farm runes required to purchase an item rather than the runes required to level up early on. Also, if you notice that you almost have enough runes to level up and the boss room is nearby, don't try fighting the boss with that many runes. It is much better to either farm some trash mobs for the runes or pop a couple of the consumable runes that you pick up every now and then level up and then try fighting the boss. Let's talk about that big open world, my friend. Exploration. Another piece is to explore. Elden Ring is the first open world Souls games with many things to see and do, so if you're having trouble with a boss, go and explore. You might find an easier boss or a new weapon that you like. Just exploring the starter area will give you some sacred tears and golden seeds, which will increase the amount of charges and how much it heals for your flask. Also, lastly, summoning. This game is pretty hard, so you might need some help every now and then. In Elden Ring, difficulties and challenges are everywhere. Margaret, the crystal caves, or even your own horse. But if you're stuck on a boss like Margaret, or someone else, look for a summoning pool, or go to a fog gate before the boss and try using a furrowed finger remedy. Using one will reveal summon signs that allow you to summon friend or foe. Also, keep in mind that there are NPC summons as well as player summons, but they're pretty easy to tell the difference, but I would recommend that you summon a player over an NPC, as some players can have crazy builds that will make the boss you're fighting a lot easier.
Damn!
There is a limit to this though, as you can only summon 2 others to help you. Also, be warned that while co-oping, you can be invaded. So if you summon help to explore an area, keep that in the back of your head. And if you were wondering, if you enter a boss arena, you are safe from invaders, so you don't have to worry about a knife in the back while duking it out with the boss. Alternatively, you could also have ashes to help you with the fight, be that in a boss arena or just around the world. Now, while they can't be summoned everywhere, the game will let you know where you can summon them, when this symbol appears on your screen for an XP cost in exchange. On a side note, if you leave the area, the ashes will begin to fade until they eventually disappear. And that's all the advice I have for you. If you learned anything, anything was useful to you, I would appreciate if you liked the video or shared it to anybody else that's struggling in Elden Ring. If you want to see more, like the video, let me know. Maybe I can make another one of these advice/tip videos. Anyway, that's all I have for you today, and I'll see you in the lands between. See you out there, Tarnished.